Had over 1,000 one-on-one conversations with people who build a living from video, whether it's a fitness instructor, an educator, faith leaders, dance teachers, filmmakers, people in niches I'd never even heard of until they explained them to me. And when you do that many, you stop seeing 1,000 different problems and you start seeing the same 5 problems wearing 100 different outfits. The one I want to talk about today is the most common, the most expensive, and almost nobody names it out loud. It's not a tech problem. It's not a marketing problem. It's 2 beliefs, 2 quiet little beliefs sitting in the back of your head, keeping you exactly where you are. And most people carrying them have no idea they're there. They just feel stuck and assume it's something else. Here's what I'm going to do in the next 30 something minutes. I'm going to show you the smallest possible move I've seen turn an audience into a business for people a lot smaller than you'd guess. And I'm going to show you why most people never make that move, even when it's right in front of them. But one thing before we get into it. This episode is for people who already have something. You've got an audience. You make stuff people actually like. Some people show up every single time. If that's you, stay with me. If you haven't published anything yet and you're starting from a blank page, this one might not be for you, but your episode is coming. All I'm asking for in the next little bit is that you be open to the possibility that you might be wrong about your own limits. Not convinced, just open, a small crack in the door. Now, here's the thing I need you to sit with, because everything else today is built on it. An audience and a business are 2 different things. They're not the same thing at different sizes. They're different things entirely. An audience is attention. People are watching. That's real. It's worth something and you worked hard for it. But attention is borrowed. It shows up when you post and it drifts when you don't. And you don't decide who sees you. Somebody else's algorithm does. A business is a relationship that people pay to keep. That's the whole definition. People give you money on purpose again and again and again because they want what you make to continue. And the gap between those 2 things is not more followers. So let me say that again, because it might be the most expensive misunderstanding in this entire space. The gap is not more followers. The gap is a decision, and it's a decision you have not made yet. So why haven't you made it? Well, because there are 2 things standing in the doorway, and I call them the 2 thieves because that's kind of what they are. They steal a version of your business that already exists and never let it out. The first thief says, you're not big enough yet. Get more followers, then it'll be worth doing. And the second thief says, they're not going to pay anyway. They only show up because it's free. Ask for money and they'll vanish. Almost everyone I talk to is being robbed by one of these, and sometimes both. And the cruel part is they sound like caution. They sound responsible. I'm just being realistic. No, I think you're being robbed politely. We're going to take both of these apart today, one at a time, with actual numbers and actual people. And before I do, think about your free audience right now. Every person watching you is already sorted into one of 2 piles. There are viewers who watch, enjoy, and move on. And there are members, people who would pay you to keep going, who would be genuinely bothered if you stopped. Both groups are already in there today. The only thing missing is that you've never given the second pile a way to say yes. Let's take apart the first thief. I'm not big enough yet. I want to do some math because this belief rarely survives contact with arithmetic. People hold it precisely because they don't do the math. They just feel small. Say you charge $25 a month. 100 people say yes. That right there is $2,500 a month, which is also the equivalent of $30,000 a year from 100 people. 100. Think about that for a second. You probably have more than 100 people who would notice if you disappeared tomorrow. The break even on a real video business, the number where this stops being a hobby and starts being income you can plan your life around, is a smaller number than almost anyone believes before they sit down and count. You were never short on audience. You were short on the ask. Now, I want to take this a step further because this is the part that surprised even me after all these conversations. When we look at which video businesses grow and which ones stall, the difference is not size. It's not who has the biggest following. The businesses that grow are the ones that charge a real price and keep their members engaged. The ones that stall tend to undercharge and hope that volume saves them. The growing businesses tend to run around $28, $29 per member per month. Now, that is not universal. Sometimes they're 10, sometimes they're 15, sometimes they're 19, but they might be in the same space with the same kind of audience. The growing ones just decided their work was worth a real number and they asked for it. And most video businesses that get this right are profitable within a few months, not years, 3 months. So when the thief whispers, "You're too small," what it actually means is you're under asking, wrong price, or no ask at all. Let me put real people on this. I never want you to think this only works for the big ones out there. Let's look at Tom Gelly of Big Picture Skiing. Tom is a solo ski instructor, one person, and his goal, in his own words, is to be the best ski instructor in the world without ever meeting me. He'd already made a few one-off videos, saw people kept buying them and thought, okay, let me try the subscription thing. He didn't wait to be ready. He didn't build the perfect product first. He put something out, learned what stuck, and built from there. One guy running a global membership from his laptop. Natalie Rose of Body by Bar is the same thing. Natalie was doing one-on-one coaching and her followers kept telling her the same thing. We just want access to the workouts without the high ticket price tag. So she listened. She launched a membership at the price of one coffee a week. In her words, with no technical background whatsoever. Within 8 months, she had over 1,000 paying members. She didn't have to convince anyone to pay. They'd been asking her to let them. Emily had nearly 500,000 Instagram followers, and she'd been selling workout guides and assumed when she launched a membership, her audience would just subscribe. When they didn't, she was thinking about quitting. But the audience wasn't the problem, the ask was. Once she started rebuilding how she communicated the offer and engineered the first 7 days of the experience, things turned around. Same audience, different approach, different result. None of these people waited until they were big. Tom decided while he was small. Natalie listened while her audience was already telling her. Emily had more followers than most people dream of and still had to learn how to ask. The size is never the issue. And here's the cost of not deciding. The cost of waiting for bigger. It's invisible, which is exactly why you underweight it. When you spend money, you feel it. When you wait, you feel nothing. So it feels free. But it's not, because every month you wait for some bigger version of yourself to show up before you'll ask, the audience you already have is worth a little bit less to you and a little more to whoever finally gives them somewhere to go, because somebody will. So think about it honestly. How many people genuinely look forward to your work? People who would notice, who would be sad if it stopped. Whatever that number is, go back to the math we just did. For most of you, that number is already past break even. You've been standing on the sideline for too long, looking across the field, telling yourself, you're just not there yet. So the first thief is done. Let's deal with the second. Before we keep going, if this is landing for you, I write about this stuff almost every week in a newsletter called The Growth Memo. That's my newsletter where I break down what I'm seeing across the businesses I work with, what's actually working, what's not, and the patterns most people miss. It's free. You can use the QR code on screen or the link in the show notes, but let's get back to it. So the second thief, this one is much sneakier because it sounds humble. Sure, people watch, but they only watch because it's free. The second I ask for money, they're going to be gone. I understand why that feels true. It does not hold up. And I can show you why with data. Here's the thing that's actually true, and it's almost the exact opposite of the fear. The people who consume the most of your free work are the people most likely to pay you. Engagement is the single most reliable signal we have for who's going to buy and who's going to stay once they do. When someone starts a free trial and watches 3 or more pieces of content in their first week, they convert to paying at something like 10 times the rate of someone who watches one thing and drifts off. 10 times. The behavior that predicts payment isn't saw an ad. It's couldn't stop watching. Which means the very thing you're worried about, that people are watching a lot of your free stuff, isn't a warning sign. It's a buying signal, and it's a very strong one at that. So let's reframe what free has actually been doing all this time. You think free is the reason they show up and that charging will break the spell. But I think that's the wrong way around. Free is not the reason. Free is the on-ramp. You spent months, maybe years, giving people good work for nothing and earning their trust one piece at a time. That trust is real. It's an asset, and it's been compounding quietly, whether you noticed it or not. A membership is not a betrayal of that trust. It's the natural next room. It's where the relationship goes when someone wants more than a free version can give them. You're not pulling a bait and switch. You're opening a door that some of your people have been quietly hoping you would open. And the people who walk through it don't just pay once, they stick. When a video business runs regular live events, we tend to see something like 2.5 times the monthly revenue. When there's an active community, churn tends to run about half. Engaged people pay and engaged people stay. They're the same people. The ones you're worried won't pay are the ones who might be the most loyal if you would let them. Think about Natalie again. Her followers weren't just watching, they were literally asking her to give them something to pay for. She didn't have to guess whether they would convert. They'd been telling her. And Tom, he saw that people kept buying his one-off videos. So he tried the subscription. The signal was there. Both of them just finally listened to it. I want you to think of one real person right now. Someone who comments every single time, replies to your emails, shows up to everything, tells their friends about you. Picture them. Say their name in your head. That person's not a viewer. That is your first member. They've been raising their hand for a while now. You just haven't passed them anything to hold. Now, both thieves are done. They'll pay. The ones closest to you will pay first and stay longest, which leaves an uncomfortable question. If you're big enough and they'll pay, what's actually been stopping you? So I want to slow down here. We just took apart the 2 reasons you've been giving yourself, and I don't want to pretend that that solves it, because for a lot of you, knowing those beliefs are wrong isn't going to be enough. The stuck feeling is still going to be there. I'm not big enough and they won't pay are usually masks. They're the respectable reasons you say out loud. Underneath, there's a quieter one, and it's often harder to admit. For some of you, it sounds like this. What I make isn't really worth paying for. And for others, it's if I start charging, I become a salesperson, and I don't want to be that. That's just not who I am. I hear some version of that second one constantly. People who are brilliant at what they do, who have helped real people, who would rather do almost anything than put a price on it, because the moment they do, they're afraid of who that makes them. They're afraid it cheapens the thing they love. I've watched people sit on genuinely great businesses for years over this, not over tech, not over audience size, over a story about who they would have to become. So let me offer you a different story. I think it's the truer one. Think about what a membership actually asks of you. It asks you to show up consistently, to keep providing value, not once, but over and over, to build structure, to create accountability for your members and yourself, to keep earning the relationship every single month. That's not taking from people. That's committing to a higher standard of delivery than you have ever held yourself to. Right now, your free content shows up when you feel like it. Some weeks you post, some weeks you don't. Your audience gets whatever you happen to make whenever you happen to make it. And that's fine. It's generous and they appreciate it. But a membership changes the deal. It means you're saying, I'm going to keep showing up for you. I'm going to give you structure, consistency, community, and a reason to stay. And in exchange, you're going to invest in keeping this going. That's not a salesperson move. That's a commitment. You're raising the bar on what you offer, and the people who are already your biggest fans get to be the ones who hold you to it, while you hold them to the expectations you're setting for them. And here's what it does for you, which nobody tells you when they talk about monetizing. It doesn't make you salesy. It makes you sustainable. When the money's recurring and predictable, you can plan. You can stop white knuckling every single month. You can invest in better content, better tools, better experiences for the people who trust you, and better resources to help you run the business. The membership model gives you the stability to actually build something worth building, because you're not scrambling for the next dollar. You're serving the people who already said yes. You don't lose the part you love by charging for it. Charging is what lets you keep doing the part you love instead of burning out and quitting. You're not becoming a worse version of yourself. You're not. You're becoming the version that can actually keep the promise. If you're being honest with yourself right now, and I really hope you are, ask yourself what you've actually been telling yourself, not the polished version, the real reason, whatever it is, just name it, even silently. because these stories only run the show while they stay in the dark. The second you look at them directly, they have a lot less power than they did a few seconds ago. So here's the part where I'm going to ask you to do something. And I want to be really clear about what I'm not asking. I'm not asking you to launch a polished membership. I'm not asking you to build a whole platform, design a logo, film 50 videos, map out a year of content, and flip on a switch on some grand opening. That mountain is exactly what the thieves will use to keep you frozen. I'll do it when I have time to do it properly. Well, you probably won't. Nobody does it properly the first time. That's not how anything real gets built. Just look around the other episodes on this channel for some really great examples of this. Tom Gillies' advice on this was about as simple as it gets. Don't try to make it really good. Just put something out there and see what sticks. His best friend told him that, and he said it was the best advice he ever got because it made him stop planning and start doing. What I'm asking you to do is run the smallest possible test that proves the belief. So, 4 steps. That's the whole thing. 1, pick the one thing your most engaged people would pay you to go deeper on. Not everything you do, one thing. The topic where people already ask you the most questions. You know what it is. Natalie's was bar and Pilates workouts. Her one-on-one clients kept asking for the workouts without the coaching price tag. Tom's was ski technique. People kept buying his one-off videos. Your one thing is probably already obvious if you look at your DMs and comments. 2, set one price. Don't agonize over it. Pick a number that feels maybe a little uncomfortable and write it down. Natalie chose the price of 1 cup of coffee a week and it worked. The point isn't to nail the perfect price. It's to name a real number and put it out there. You can adjust it later, although you can't adjust 0. And it's easier to move your prices up than down. So if in doubt, keep that in mind. 3, tell the people who already love your work. Here's where people freeze because they think tell them means building a funnel or running an ad campaign or setting up a 3-week launch sequence. No, I'm talking about a direct personal message. Here's how I would do it in order of effectiveness. If you have an email list, even a small one, that's your first move. Write them a plain email, not a sales page, a personal note, something like, hey, I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I'm finally doing it. I'm opening blank. Here's what it is. Here's what it costs. Here's the link. If you've been wanting to go deeper with me, this is the way. That's it. Send it. If you don't have an email list or it's tiny, go to Instagram stories, show your face, talk directly to the camera. Tell people what you're doing and why. Stories feel personal and low pressure. They disappear in 24 hours, which actually works in your favor because it removes the feeling of permanence that scares some people. You can do a series of 3 or 4 stories, what it is, who it's for, what they'll get, how to join. If YouTube's your primary platform, record a short video or put up a community post. Same energy, direct, personal, low production, just you talking to the people who already watch everything you make saying, I built something for you. Here it is. The point is this, you're not launching to strangers. You're telling people who already trust you that there is a next step. The channel matters less than the directness. Don't hide behind a graphic or a caption. Use your voice and your name and make it personal. 4, count the yeses. That's the entire test. You could do most of it this week. What you've built, without it sounding scary, is the first rung of a value ladder. Free work brings people in. One paid offer turns the most engaged ones into members. The full membership comes later, once you've proven to yourself that the door opens. You don't start with the cathedral. You start by seeing if anyone walks through one door. Here's why I want you to do this instead of just nodding along and feeling motivated. Because one yes, a single person you can name who hands you money changes the belief permanently and instantly. You can argue with my data all day. You can't argue with a notification that says somebody paid you. The first dollar isn't really about the dollar. It's proof that the audience was a business the whole time and the only thing in the way was the asking. Let me put the whole episode back together in just a few seconds. An audience is not a business. The gap between the two is a decision, not a follower count. You're already big enough. The math works at numbers smaller than you think, and the businesses that grow aren't the biggest. They're the ones that charge a real price. Your most engaged people are the ones who will pay and the ones who will stay. Engagement was never a reason to doubt. It was the buying signal the whole time. The only thing in the doorway was a story you'd been telling yourself, about size, about money, or about who you'd have to become. And the way you find out that story was never true is the smallest possible launch. One thing, one price, told directly to the people who already love you. You've got two roads from here. On the first one, you keep doing what you've been doing. You make great work, you give it away, you grow your audience, and you hope it all adds up to something. And maybe it does. On the second road, you give the people who already love your work a way to go deeper with you. And you find out whether the thing you've been afraid of was ever real. The first road keeps you with an audience. The second one makes the business real. There's a thing I believe about timing. Change doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It follows intention. The moment you decide is the moment it starts moving. If you're sitting there feeling close enough that part of you is already a little nervous, that nervousness is not a sign to wait. It's a sign that you're standing right on the line. Step over it. Last thing, I mentioned the growth memo earlier. That's where I go deeper on this stuff every single week. What I'm seeing across the businesses I work with, what's actually moving the needle, the patterns and mistakes that keep showing up. It's free, and it's the best way to keep this conversation going between episodes. The link is in the show notes, and I'll see you in the next one.